So, round of 16, England 3, Senegal 0. The Lions of Teranga leave the tournament as they concede 3 by the Three Lions. Where to start? So, it took a while for England to get going, but once they did, they could not be stopped. The pace of Bukayo Saka and Phil Foden was just too much, and I thought that what really killed Senegal was the fact that England looked positively devastating on the counter. Whenever Senegal was mounting pressure, whenever they got into England's box, they played a very high line, and England were very clinical on the day whenever they finally broke and pushed ranks forward. Harry Kane finding the back of the net finally in this tournament. He made several worldy type passes, and Jude Bellingham's performance speaks for itself. Jude Bellingham was ridiculous. He was all over the pitch today. England made very important interceptions. The counters were pristine, really. They drove the midfield battle completely. And I think this was England's most solid overall performance in this match, minus the first 20, 30 minutes, of course, when Senegal was putting them under a lot of pressure. We saw that down the middle of the stretch, Senegal were hounding England at times, getting 2, 3 Senegalese around each player, trying to win the ball back. There were moments, of course, where England looked as if they didn't know how to play through Senegal. But once the game settled and they found their footing, I thought they were phenomenal. And it's very possible that Gareth Southgate has figured out now what starting 11 to go with. And Foden, I think, going forward, is looking like he's going to have to play an integral role in that. It was interesting to see Harry Kane dropping back and Henderson and Bellingham going forward was interesting. They were often pressing with a front four, but while in possession, they had a midfield four, which can be impactful against upcoming France, considering that France runs a two-man midfield. And I think that England has shown, if there is any one real weakness, is that they tend to not really get confidence in a game until they find a goal. Once they went up, it was as if the floodgates had opened, because it was a completely different team, and Senegal really never stood a chance. And Harry Kane finding the back of the net in stoppage time of the first half, that was the knife in the stomach for Senegal, and there was really no coming back into this match. I think Aliou Cisse did okay in trying to get the boys to keep composure. Senegal did not lose their minds in the second half, but the second half was slow. And it was slow because you could tell by around the hour mark, it was definitively at its end. What's really deadly and I think ruthless about this England team is once they get that goal they need in a game, the opposition tends to open up in search of an equalizer, and that's when England really shines. We saw this against Iran. We saw this today against Senegal. I think the best way to go at England is to put them under considerable pressure from the start, pin down the flanks, put a lot of pressure on Walker and on Maguire at the back. Because I think that's the best way to really have a go at England. England right now have scored 12 goals in the World Cup. They're averaging 3 goals a game now. They only have those 2 conceded against Iran. They're on 3 clean sheets at the moment. And they're coming up against a French team that has not kept a clean sheet yet in this tournament. That's something to keep in mind. Now for Senegal, I did think the scoreline was a little bit brutal for them at half. I don't think they had a first half that was worthy of being in a 2-0 hole. Because I think that before Henderson's goal, they actually were the better team. And they produced a lot of chances in this game. They had 10 shots in total, but only one of which was on target. And Boulaïdia had a golden opportunity to put them ahead. And if he does, that forces England into a situation where they have to adapt. They have to respond. England has yet to trail a game yet in this competition. And going back to Maguire and Stones for a moment, I feel like when England were struggling to play through Senegal, there were moments where they passed it around the back line, and Maguire and Stones they lost the ball in really dangerous positions numerous times. But again, after that first goal, they were just too clutch on the counter to not win. And I think that Aliou Cisse, the Senegalese manager, I question some of his tactics. Why change to a 4-4-2? He could have just maintained a 4-3-3 and put Papa Gueye in there to make the team a little bit more rigid. And I also thought it was kind of strange that he didn't substitute Jacobs at halftime. I thought he was dreadful. And he lost his man whenever he's trying to mark him. He lost him so many times that I lost count. So Senegal, I did like the way they approached this match. They did not show England too much respect. From the opening whistle, they were like I said, they were hounding them. They had two reasonably good chances. And they took the game to England. They didn't just sit back. They decided, we're the worst team. We're just going to absorb pressure. Hopefully, we'll squeeze through on the counter. No, no, they really took it to England, and England had to maintain its focus in order to find its own rhythm in this game. So, very briefly, how do I think they set up against France? I would anticipate five at the back, maybe a redo of the first 30 minutes where they keep the tempo of the match low because France is a different animal. And this is going to be a test for England, unlike which they haven't come up against yet. And also, it's going to be a test for France because France have not really been tested yet. They came through a very milquetoast group, I thought, with Australia and then a very disappointing Danish team and Tunisia, and then beating Poland today, which I'll talk about later. So it's difficult to get a pulse on England right now if they're the real deal because they'll be coming up against a side where in the quarters, neither of them have really been tested in a meaningful way, although I do think that my U.S. team did have moments of brilliance in that group stage match against England. So it's going to be very, very fascinating to watch. But Southgate Ball, it's confusing at times. England sometimes reverts it back and goes into their shell when they're not, when they don't have any sense of steadiness going. But when it excels, it really excels. And he said that the shackles were going to come off prior to this World Cup, entering this tournament, and England, they look very, very cogent. So we'll see what happens, I guess. England advance, Senegal are eliminated.